Want your own podcast? El Paso News launched El Paso Talks, the place where you can listen to the authentic voices of El Paso talk about all things El Paso, from the food to the politics and everything in between. The coolest thing is anyone can become a podcaster in 3 easy steps. Best of all, it's all free. Step 1, tell us you want to become a podcaster. Step 2, find a quiet room and use your smartphone to record yourself. Step 3, send us your recording. That's it. In a matter of days your podcast will be on Apple Podcasts, Amazon and on iHeartRadio, as well as other podcast providers. If you are serious about podcasting, here is what you need to know. 1. Each time you record yourself it becomes one episode. Each recording should be 3 to 5 minutes long. Always start each recording by stating your name and welcoming listeners to your podcast show. It is always good to start out by letting listeners know what you will be talking about in this episode. 2. Each recording should focus on one topic or issue. 3. Each recording should be focused on El Paso. 4. Do not add music or record with music playing in the background. Music requires a license to be played in a podcast. The only exception is music you create as long as the composition and lyrics are originally created by you. We will require you to provide proof that the music is yours. 5. Once you are ready to start your podcast, we will ask you to provide us 2 recordings. The first recording is an introduction to your podcast. It is where you introduce yourself to our listeners. A sample script goes like this: "Welcome to my podcast. Don't forget to name your podcast show." Then you continue with, "My name is so-and-so, and in my show, I am going to talk about whatever topics interest you." If you have a specific topic, explain it to the listeners. If you are not sure what topics you will talk about, just say that you will discuss issues about El Paso. Keep it personal and introduce yourself to our listeners. Listeners want to listen to authentic voices, so make sure they understand why you have a podcast show. Have fun. Listeners want to be entertained. By having fun yourself, you are entertaining, in other words, be the life of the party. The second recording we need is a simple ending to each of your podcasts so that we can create a master to add at the end of each of your episodes. The script is simple. Tell the listeners they have reached the end of this episode, thank them for listening to your podcast and remind them to like and subscribe to the podcast. Here is a sample script. Thank you for listening to my podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, or see you on the next episode of my podcast. Don't forget to replace my podcast with the name of your podcast. 6. Name your podcast show. We need you to tell us what name you want to give to your podcast show. Keep it short and memorable. Long podcast show names simply do not work. 7. Will you publish all podcasts? We want to create a network of El Paso voices without limitations. However, for legal purposes there are some limitations. The first is that you must keep your language at a PG level. We want our channel to be a family affair. We will not publish podcasts that are not family friendly. The other limitation is that we want constructive debates. If your recording is focused on talking bad about any individual, we will not publish it. As long as you keep it civil, on topic, focused on El Paso and it invites constructive and open dialogue, we will likely publish it. That's it. Simple, right? 2 important things to keep in mind. The first is that if you tell listeners that you will be podcasting weekly, make sure to keep that schedule. Listeners expect you to keep the commitment you make to them. If you do not feel comfortable committing to weekly podcasts, it is not a problem. You can commit to monthly podcasts or even podcast shows that are published as they come to you. Just keep to the commitment you make. The second thing to keep in mind is that we need your recording at least 72 hours ahead of the publishing date, so that we can produce the podcast for you and publish it. Here are some answers to some questions we've been asked. Can I get my friends to join me? Of course, it is your podcast, so you can invite others to join you in the conversation. Can my podcast be longer than 5 minutes? Yes, you can make your podcast longer than 5 minutes. However, Keep in mind that most listeners like to listen to podcasts in short spurts, when they are commuting or have some downtime. Unless you have something that grabs a listener's attention for longer than 5 minutes, we recommend you keep your podcast at about 5 minutes. I hate my voice. Can I still podcast? Yes, with artificial intelligent voices. All we need you to do is send us the text of your topic in an email. Tell us what voice gender you want us to use, and we will do the rest. This video was produced with an artificial intelligence voice.
This is another sample male voice.
We can also use this male voice.
We can also create your podcast in this female voice.
Or, we can also use this female voice.
También podemos generar voces artificiales en español.
Who owns my podcast? You own your individual episodes. You are just providing us permission to turn your recording into a podcast and deliver it to our audiences. At any point you can choose to stop sending us your recordings and start publishing your own podcast. You can republish the episodes we created for you on your own channel. What if you don't agree with my politics? Will you publish my podcast? We are an open platform agnostic to tribal politics, party affiliation, and are on a mission to promote the El Paso voices seldom heard. We want all El Paso voices. If you bring topics that lead to honest discussions about the issues, we are likely to publish your podcast. Will you be doing podcasts with multiple people? Each podcaster can choose to create an episode with 2 or more individuals. Just invite family and friends to have a discussion about a topic, record it and send it to us. Eventually, our plan is to offer live podcasts and podcasts with several hosts, but we need to work on the logistics of bringing several people together to record a session. We will make an announcement when we are ready. Podcasting takes effort and people are busy with family and work. There are plenty of podcasts hosted by individuals that do this for a living, or have the time and equipment to deliver full-featured podcasts to you. What we are creating with El Paso Talks is offering those individuals that have something to share their knowledge and experience an opportunity to add their voices to El Paso's narratives. These are the authentic voices of El Paso. Join the El Paso News team today by becoming a podcaster. Add your voice to the El Paso narrative and become part of the solution.